Hello everybody, welcome to Comics and Graphic Novel Basics, Video 2. So last time we talked about panel, bleed, gutter, and frame. Today we are going to move into another term found in the NCTE Graphic Novel Comics Terms and Concept Sheet, which can be found on the NCTE website or my website, theothercomicbookteacher.com, in resources. It is just a 2-page awesome resource for teaching with graphic novels. It's a very succinct list of all the terms you're going to need to kind of learn with, teach with, and read comics and graphic novels. So today we are going to get into graphic weight. Graphic weight is by far one of the coolest things in comics and graphic novels. It's one of the neatest things to talk about, one of the most interesting things to spot, and is one of the things I will say that makes reading comics and graphic novels so interesting. So without further ado, let me get into my demo and examples of graphic weight. Okay, so let's get into some examples of graphic weight. Now, I could talk about graphic weight forever, and there will probably be more instructional videos going over some cool examples of graphic weight that you can kind of share, look at, analyze, share, kind of use as a great example. So remember, graphic weight is a term that describes the way some images draw the eye more than others, creating a defined focus using color, shading, and variation, including lights and darks, toned images, high contrast, patterns or repeated series of marks, and colors that appear more brilliant than others on the page. I think Mike Mignola does this fantastically in the Hellboy series. So if I open up this Hellboy Right Hand of Doom book, you're going to notice one thing right away of these 2 pages, and that is your eye pops from the red of Hellboy to the red of Hellboy. That is a really cool color blue in the background of some of these panels, but over the blue, our eye is popping around to this kind of like a hilly shape, this kind of mountainous sort of shape of Hellboy on this page. So you are going to read the pages as normal, but when you first turn the page, and that's one of the things too about graphic weight, it's like when you turn a page in a comic, you're not just seeing the page you're supposed to be reading, you are seeing the entirety of 2 pages. So if I turn this page here, my eyes go here first because this yellow, contrasting with those dark colors, is more brilliant than the red on this page. So my eyes go here first to kind of get a preview of what's coming, and then I go back to this panel. That is an example of graphic weight there. The weight of that contrast draws your eye. So the next one I'm going to show you, I just pulled a bunch from my collection here. This one is from AllStar Superman, a little Grant Morrison. All right, so this page I think is super cool. Now, I'll go back to the previous page, right? This is what it kind of looks like here. When you turn the page, the first thing you notice in the series of these 2 pages is this giant spear. Now, the shape of the panel kind of helps too, but also the color of it. Smack dab in the middle, this kind of light blue spire catches your eye. Cool thing about this too is like you see this picture of Superman. The blue and the red here are kind of eye-catching, right? They have some graphic weight. And then him here pointing this way. These 2 images kind of lead your eye to there as well. So even if you weren't right away looking at this spire, the Superman right here in these panels kind of lead you to kind of look that way. So that is a cool trick too in graphic weight that a lot of artists do, is they will have shapes that kind of point you in the direction that you should be looking, and then you look here and then it kind of brings you back up to the top panel of the page. But when I turn that, the graphic weight brings me right to this panel here, and its shape and its color and its size help create that graphic weight. All right, next is Image Comics Paper Girls. All right, Image Comics Paper Girls here. So I'm going to open this up to this page. Now, these couple pages, there's nothing crazy about the graphic weight of these pages. They're pretty simple, right? We kind of have this like darker kind of monochromatic purple-ish tones going on throughout the page. But there are some like points of red, like the Hellboy, that kind of bring our eye around a little bit. So even in this kind of, I'm not going to say boring, but compared to some comic book pages, these are pretty pretty tame. Let's use the word tame here. We have these couple instances of red still creating some graphic weight and keeping it interesting for our eyes, even when there's no epic battle happening on the pages. Okay. Next, let's take a look at Jeff Lemire's Trillium. All right, got some Jeff Lemire Trillium here. I'm going to open this up because this splash page here is fairly epic. Now, when you turn the page, so this is what's before it, I'm going to turn the page, and immediately I'm going to this staircase here, and I'm going into this kind of swirling pattern in the sky, kind of going down, and then this road is kind of bringing me down here to this character kneeling down here on the sidewalk here. So this is a cool setup graphic weight wise, because when I turn the page, I immediately kind of either look up here or over here, and then it kind of brings me down here by the shape of these, and then the lines of this little road here kind of bringing us down to our character. It's kind of cool because when you turn it, you kind of see this person in like the peripherals, but your eyes immediately want to go here because this is the most dominant image on the page. This holds the most graphic weight. And we can start asking ourselves why. So when we're reading this story, we get to this page, if we're analyzing this, we can ask ourselves, why is this the most dominant thing on the page? And if you don't think so, why? What do you think is the most dominant thing? So graphic weight gives us a lot of great entryways into having these discussions in classrooms or with each other, and just kind of with ourselves. Like, why do we think that this thing has more weight than the others? A couple more examples here. This one I have for you is from Marvel Comics Karnak. This is volume 1, I believe. It's called The Flaw in All Things. Superhero comics, while I'm not the biggest fan all the time, do the graphic weight thing very well. And these artists are very much trained to do it. So as I open up this Karnak book, this one's pretty neat, right? Because what you see when you open to this page is not a ton going on. There's not a lot of vibrant, bright colors. We have the yellow-green in the hood here. We have this kind of yellow line following the hand here. But what we do see is, okay, so if we happen to look here first because of the graphic weight, this hand kind of points us back in this direction. So we go up to the hood, we read this page, and the bottom panel is a hand, kind of with a little bit of a bleed there, pointing us up into this hand. So see how that kind of motion goes right up here, and then this hand, and then down here, and then we finish the page. So there is some cool flow happening in the art in this page. And maybe that's purposeful to the story. So if you notice how that's the way the graphic weight kind of pulls your eye around the page, have that discussion as to why. Is it thematically linked? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's on accident, right? Sometimes as readers of books, we overanalyze things just to overanalyze, but sometimes it's just fun to do that. I'm going to give you one more here. I have 3 from Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Strikes Again. So the first one I'm going to show you, this book is just crazy, crazy, crazy with the graphic weight and the colors and the dark and thick and thin lines. This page right here with Wonder Woman, this page is awesome, right? Because like, where do your eyes go first? I mean, do they simultaneously look at the 2 versions of Wonder Woman on the left and the right, and then ultimately you maybe see her, but then this is like a close-up of her face? So then it goes down into this kind of like mountainous area here, and then back up here. There's a lot going on, yet not a lot going on here. I kind of dig this. So we have the mid shot and the zoom all in one. The second one I want to show you from this book. Sorry, I dog-eared these pages if anybody sees that and gets upset. So, that's what I do sometimes. So if you were reading this book and you like turn, bang, you got those massive eyes right in your face. That is the epitome of graphic weight right there. Before you see anything else, before you see the pink in this costume and the pink in the background here, there's a lot of cool colors. You're drawn right to these massive eyes, and then they zoom out a little bit here, and then we kind of get the rest of that page. But there is an example, perfect example of turn the page and boom, your eyes are drawn to the weight of that panel right there. The last one I'm going to show you in this Batman book is this really interesting 2-page 4-panel spread because every panel kind of has its own graphic weight, right? We're gonna look here. We're gonna look at this like cool little zoom line here, the contrast and the lights and the darks in the face here, and then this really massive kind of circle contrast here. So we have nice little graphic weight little bits all over these pages. This book is really interesting that does that. And so we're going to ask ourselves why. Once again, it's always why and how. How does the author, the artist do what they're doing, and why do they do it? And graphic weight allows us to really kind of get into those discussions. So I hope that looking at those examples really kind of allows you to understand what graphic weight is. We will be talking about that more and more as we go on, as we do these series of videos, as we start analyzing comics and graphic novels. And yeah, next week we are going to, the next session I should say, so we're going to go over foreground, middle ground, background. So last video we talked about panel, frame, gutter, and bleed. This week we talked a lot about graphic weight. Next week we are going to foreground, middle ground, background.